Namaste. Welcome to Current Affairs with Jyotsna Sharma, my exclusive show only on ITV Gold. This is a show that focuses on current issues and affairs that relate to your happy, healthy and successful living. And I ensure that every topic covered should bring some information to you or some education or say some points that lead to something good in your life. Today I am sitting with two esteemed guests in our studio. They are contesting for the upcoming midterm elections, the Congressional District 6 and the Congressional District 12. These are the two candidates coming from there. They are from the Republican Party and they are planning to bring a change. Let me introduce you to my first guest. Her name is Susan Kiley. Commissioner Sue Kiley is serving her second 3-year term of the Monmouth County Board of County Commissioners. She is the Deputy Director of the Board and Liaison to the Human Services Department. Prior to joining the Commissioner Board, Commissioner Kiley served Hazlitt on the Township Committee since 2014 as a committee woman, Deputy Mayor and Mayor. Sue has had a successful 30-year career in the healthcare industry before entering the political arena, first as a registered nurse and then in healthcare sales. Sue Kiley is seeking to unseat 34-year Congressman Frank Pallone, Chair of the Energy and Commerce Committee right now. And my next guest is Darius Mayfield, the congressional candidate in the New Jersey's 12th District. Darius Mayfield, a congressional candidate in New Jersey's 12th District, representing the Republican Party, and he definitely has journeyed a path that brings him to this pivotal point in today's political landscape. Bringing his fervor of people and doing right by them is one of the major reasons why he chose to run for the office. His motto of not black, not white, American is more than a belief but a way of life, placing collective goals of citizens and residents ahead of special interest groups. He is a self-made business strategist, political commentator, and political visionary who has partnered with CEOs, executives, and solopreneurs to grow their personal and professional brands, human to human, team to team. He attributes his humble beginnings of living in Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher Program, which his mother and sister as his motivation to achieve success, not only for himself, but for all ambitious Americans. Darius has an interesting profile, and now let's talk to both our candidates tonight. Interesting profiles for both of you, and first and foremost, as we speak about the South Asian community and Indian American community, I have a very particular question that I want you to address. When Indians come from India, India is a democratic country. Somewhere there is a confusion between the word democratic country and a democratic party. I would like to seek an answer from you before we begin, sir. Susan, what do you have to say when we speak about the Republican Party and a Democratic Party, making the Indians aware or the South Asians aware about that first?
Sure. To be honest with you, many years ago, the Democrat and Republican parties were close the same in terms of their beliefs, etc. Over the years, unfortunately, that has moved further and further and further away. And where we are today, the Republicans represent conservatism, low spending, family values, and things that are really important to the individuals that live here. And the Democrats are not like that anymore. So if they want to be Republicans, they can be part of the Republic.
All right, interesting. Thank you. Darius?
Well, yeah, first I want to say we're definitely proud of India and India being the largest democracy in the world. The work that you guys have done is very inspiring, and it's a model for that part of the world, the rest of that part of the world as well. And as Sue said, you know, there used to be a little bit more commonality between the two parties. Now, from what we see and what everybody's feeling, the Democratic Party has gone more of a fascist way, in a sense, governments where there really is no more democracy within that party. It's either you agree with what we're saying and what we want to do, or you're not one of us at the end of the day. And a lot of people in the South Asian part of the world, in different countries throughout the world, these are the things that they're trying to escape. Fascist governments, totalitarian governments, and things of that sort. So I hear it all the time for constituents that they literally are really taken aback by how comfortable Americans are right now, because they're watching things happen in this country that they just fled from in their countries, and they know we're not headed in a good direction. So hopefully on November 8th, you'll put America First candidates like myself and Sue in there so we can turn this thing around.
Thank you. All right. The purpose of my show here is to bring the information. Rest is up for you to decide whom to vote, who to select, and where you want to head on. When we speak about somebody sitting for 34 years on a same seat, as we speak about Frank Pallone, and Sue is trying to challenge him, seems to be a tough competition. Sue, I have a question. What is your strategy to unseat a person who's there for the last 34 years?
The key strategy is communicating with the voters and understanding what is important to them. And when I do that, I find out that they're very dissatisfied with the advances or lack of advances we've made in this area, that they don't feel like they're being listened to. They complain a lot about trying to get in front of him or in front of his office staff, and they don't get return responses, and they're very dissatisfied with that. Obviously, they're getting very worried about the situation in the United States as a whole. Everybody is starting to feel afraid to leave their homes, to take their children to school, and worried about their children in the school as well. So there are a lot of things that are going in the wrong direction right now with our government. And our government, and the other thing I want to say is that Frank Pallone is a powerful person in the government. He, for 34 years, has been there. He votes all the way down the line with Nancy Pelosi, has never missed one, because I checked. Mm-hmm. And there are a lot of things that our constituents want that Nancy Pelosi doesn't want, but that makes no difference. He's going to vote that way, because there's a philosophy of unity in the party that overrides what people are really asking for. And that's a problem.
Okay, I have more questions that will come to you. Mm-hmm. Darius, again, for Darius also to speak about, he's trying to contest against a candidate, Bonnie Watson-Coleman, who's there since, I think, 2015. Correct me if I'm wrong. And again, challenge. How do you unseat a person who's already there, making their mark? What are the merits and demerits?
Yeah, well, not only has she been in Congress, the House of Representatives, since 2015, but she was in our assembly here in New Jersey for over 20 years before that. So she is the quintessential career politician, which is what a lot of people are fighting against nowadays. They're standing up against, because when you're in a position like that for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, after a while, you kind of lose touch with the everyday man and woman. And that's why you see so many of our politicians now advocating for policies, as Sue so eloquently said, that the people aren't even concerned about. She hit it right on the head. It's really about going out there, getting on the ground, and actually talking to and touching the people, right? The people will tell you what the problems are. Since I've started my campaign, have personally knocked on over 22,000 doors. We've made over 30,000 phone calls, and we now have over 1,300 signs out throughout the district. That's just from the hard work of going out there and talking to the people, where we hear the problems that they're actually facing every day, while your elected officials literally are sitting here talking about everything except what's actually affecting the people on the ground. They're talking about abortion, they're talking about Donald Trump, they're talking about January 6th, but the people on the ground, if you're actually out there talking to them, what they care about is inflation. They care about their taxes, they care about the border, they care about their child's education and maintaining their parental rights, and they care about us unifying this country in a real way and not just talking about it.
Interesting. I will come back again with a question in line with you only. You wrote your motto as not black, not white, American first,
yes.
Right? Explain this and to the audience. Of course, there have been discontent where somewhere Republican Party has been portrayed on a level where they say it's a party of racists. Some people say that. It's not a generic term. But when people like Darius is contesting with this motto, there has to be some change, and change looks brighter. Tell us something.
Yes, as she said, my motto is not black, not white American, because we are all Americans at the end of the day. And right now we have so many problems and too many problems outside of this country for us to have any dissension amongst ourselves here right now. We're in a very turbulent time. We're in very dangerous times. And we need as much unity as possible right here in this country to tackle all these problems head on. You know, when I grew up in New Jersey, the most diverse state in the entire country, I had black friends, white friends, brown friends, Muslim friends, Hindu friends, Jewish friends, Christian friends. We really didn't have to concern ourselves with and deal with a lot of the things that you hear are career, corrupt politicians perpetuating over and over and over again. You know, one thing I like to ask people when I meet them is, you know, when they're talking about race so much, just think about your everyday life. When you go to work, when you go to the supermarket, when you go to the laundromat, are you experiencing racism on an everyday basis? And the answer is always overwhelmingly no. Now, that's not to say that racism doesn't exist. It exists in the Republican Party, it exists in the Democratic Party, it exists amongst independents. It exists outside of this country. But here in this country specifically, we've made so much progress and are a beacon to the rest of the world for a true example for them to kind of follow, to actually unify your people, regardless of your race, regardless of your religion. And it's time that we actually start speaking to those strengths and putting that knowledge inside of people instead of always talking about the past and what has happened. We need to start speaking to the immense progress we've made in this country. And I think with candidates like myself, you're going to start to see that, and it's really going to open up a path for true unity in this country.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Darius. Interesting answer. Susan, I'll go to you now. Why do you think you are the fit person for this role as the representative of District 6?
Okay. Well, for a lot of reasons. One of which is that, well, first of all, I live in the district, and my opponent does not. He has a primary residence in Washington, D.C. today. So it makes it a little difficult to talk to your constituents when you're not living in the district. And I do connect with all the constituents. I'm very much involved in my community right now as the chairman of Health and Human Services. I want to know what's happening, what the biggest issues are, what are the things that people are suffering with. For example, we did a diaper drive when mothers were really suffering because they couldn't get enough diapers, and we have soup kitchens and all kinds of things that have been put into place to make sure the constituents are satisfied with what they have, and we're working with them to get to where they want to be. So that's number one. Number two, I have a nursing background and a political background. So I've got a really nice mix of caring for the individual, looking at the issues, finding the root cause, and being able to solve it. I don't waste time on smaller issues that our opponents are working on now because they don't want to address the real problems that we have in this country. I want to hit them head on.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Darius, what's your answer to my question? Why do you think you are the right person to be chosen as the next congressman from District 12?
Yeah, well, the biggest reason is because, as we can see, based on the examples being set all across this country, that's what the people want. You know, during this last primary season, you had a historic number of first-time candidates actually beat out incumbents all over this country in the Republican Party because people are sick of career, corrupt politicians. They're ready for real America first candidates that are not afraid to speak truth to power and tell them the truth at the end of the day. And I know we got a little bit of that started with the administration before this, and it's time for us to clean it up a little bit and make sure we're relating to people and talking to people in a way where they feel comfortable, they understand, and they understand just how much respect we have for them as constituents, as we are here to serve them, not the other way around. So, you know, for me, my business background, becoming the youngest sales manager in the top 25 auto group at the age of 19, becoming the first black general manager in that same auto group when I started running Manhattan Volkswagen about 7 years ago, allowed me to develop skills, specifically negotiating skills and my adaptability skills, being able to relate to different people, and adapt to different situations, I think qualifies me for this position, because one thing I do see and find is that the current representative, Bonnie Watson-Coleman, has not necessarily negotiated the best deals for this district or for our district in District 12 and done those things. So me bringing those qualifications to the table will allow us to get more done, to really pinpoint what needs to be done, and really get those efforts in there where it needs to happen, rather than just talking about things. We'll actually be able to negotiate a great deal and get the money and the resources where they're supposed to go, creating tangible change in this district and not just talking about it.
Interesting, Darius. Quite a lot of enthusiasm you have, and let's see what happens, of course.
Well, with this audience, great things are going to happen.
100%, 100%. We just want to bring the facts there. We just want to inform and empower people. Sometimes it so happens that the information doesn't reach, or the connect does not happen. Of course, there is a mindset that has been set for many years, as I spoke about the Indian American community. So I have this question with you now. You are representing a district where there are maximum number of Indian Americans. What is your take on supporting this community?
That's a great question. I have learned a lot over the last few months, or years basically, about the Indian community, and I have the utmost respect for the people that I have met. I find them to be very religious. I find them to be very family-oriented. I find them to be very responsible and conservative. And I feel like I'm talking about myself. That's exactly how I feel and exactly how I want to represent this community. I want to take things out that make no sense. I want to make sure that we have our focus on what is important to our residents. One of the things I made a commitment to do, and I will do, is when I'm elected, I'm going to make sure that I have an American Indian on my staff in the office to be able to address the key issues that face Indian Americans that are here, and see if we can make their lives a little more smooth. And that's really important to me.
Interesting. We are looking at your commitments down the line. If things go in your favor, this video, this interview would be there, and Sue would not forget it, hopefully. All right. My next question is about, with the current performance of President Biden's administration, there is a lot of discontent in the people at large. Americans are not happy. Where are we heading to is a question somewhere. Do you think you both, as contestants, would benefit because of the overall situation of Democratic Party or the administration going into a little mess right now, as far as the inflation is concerned, as the border security is concerned? I need individual take. I'll start from Darius, and then I'll go to Sue.
Yeah, not only will it have an effect, it's already had a profound effect. When you look at the polls right now, Joe Biden has a less than 60% approval rating with the African American community in this country. He has a 19% approval rating with the Hispanic community in this country. And he has a 34% approval rating with unaffiliated in this country. Those are all constituencies that the Democratic Party could usually count on like clockwork to make sure that they're there to support them. So that is a significant change in their attitude towards this party, and specifically towards Joe Biden. I saw this coming, I knew this was coming, and that's why I was actually the first candidate in New Jersey to announce my congressional campaign last February, because I understood where this was going. Right now, we have a leader of a country, specifically Russia, literally publicly threatening nuclear war here on the United States, something that nobody in my lifetime has ever seen, and something that we never thought we'd actually see. We have record amounts of people crossing our border illegally now. In fact, over 2.3 million since January of this year. I've been to the border 3 times in the last year, more times than Kamala Harris and Joe Biden combined, and I was there to see these things firsthand and the dire conditions people are going through to get here. And as things like that are being exposed, as Democrats are being exposed for virtue signaling, for falsely calling people racist, in fact weaponizing words like racist and anti-Semitic and things of that sort, people are really starting starting to take notice, and they're sick of the games while they're watching their paychecks dwindle, while they're watching their energy prices rise almost every day, while they're watching Democrats literally claim to care about people coming over the border, but yet they only place them in underserved communities in these so-called zones for people, but yet they go to places like Martha's Vineyards, and within 24 hours, they're shipped out of there. People are noticing the hypocrisy. People are tired of this, and they're ready for their elected officials to just focus on the issues that are affecting them, which Democrats aren't doing at all.
Right, quite an elaborate answer. Thank you, Darius. Looks like you're covering for Susan also somewhere. Susan, I would ask, how much you comply with Darius's thought process and add on to it.
He's a wonderful spokesman for the Republican views.
I just try to make it lighter.
Yeah, that's fine.
Indeed.
What I would like to do is I'd like to go back to the president that we have right now.
Right.
When I say president, and I've done this, I have 13 grandchildren, and I've done this with my grandchildren. I've said to them, what should a president be? What do you think what is that all about? And they go, oh, he's really strong. Okay. And he's really knows what he's talking about. Okay. You know, we right now, and we're all afraid of him. That's the other thing they said. I don't want anybody to be afraid of our president. But the point I'm making is I want a dynamic president that people are intimidated to negotiate with. How about that?
Right.
Because they understand that this president is going to say and do what he intends to say and do. And he's going to be forceful, he's going to follow through, and I'm not seeing any of that with our current president. And I think that hurts America. It hurts the view from the nations of America, and I think it puts us in a dangerous position. And I believe that has to stop.
All right. Now I have another question. Now this relates to President Biden giving away $450 million to Pakistan for funding for their F-16s. Whereas at one point, President Biden is celebrating Diwali, and the other hand is giving this $450 million aid to Pakistan for their fighter jets, F-16s, whereas India and Pakistan are not in a great relationship, and of course, terrorism is the root cause. What is your thought process there? Is it, worth spending $450 million from the Americans' pocket, giving it to Pakistan, and then President Biden is saying Pakistan is a dangerous country as far as terrorism is concerned? I need your take because Indian Americans are keen to hear this answer from you both right now.
Yeah, well, the president calling Pakistan a dangerous country, I'm not sure what order this happened in, but him calling it a dangerous country and then handing over equipment like that is probably not the most sensible thing. But as your representative, I would need to evaluate our relationship with everybody, Pakistan, India, China, Russia, and figure out where everybody stands and how closely aligned they are to the values that we hold dear here in America.
I don't think throwing money and weapons at anything is a good idea without discussion, debate, and understanding how we can find ways to solve the problems. I'm just not a big fan of that. My son is a police officer. Every time he goes out the door with a gun on him, it scares me to death. I'd rather we talk. Let's figure out what we can do. And part of that is that we have a weak president. So, those strategies might not work with Mr. Biden.
Thank you. Now, as we head towards the end of this discussion, I'll give you a couple of minutes, or say 2 minutes each, to briefly, convince my audience as to why you should be there and what all changes would come with you coming to take those seats. I mean, you, Susan Kiley for District 6 and Darius Mayfield for District 12 as Republican candidates. Darius, your time starts first, and then Susan.
Sure, and again, thank you for having me today. I want the South Asian community to understand that Republican values are their values. Just like Republican South Asians want quality education, they want safe communities, they want religious freedom, and so does the Republican Party and all freedom-loving Americans. like yourselves. And, you know, again, I'm honored to be here to be able to have this conversation with you guys and have you understand that, again, as I just previously mentioned, I have a very large affinity for the South Asian community, again, with my fiance being of Indian descent, a lot of my friends being of Indian descent when I especially went to school in South Brunswick, New Jersey, where I understand a lot of you reside now. So just understand when I say not black, not white, American, it's not just a motto, it's a lifestyle. I am a man that has grew up in that unification in this country, and we want to make sure we put ourselves back in positions of power so we can start to translate that unity into our politics and make sure we are not just electing people that are going to continue to divide us, be divisive, because when we do that, we become weaker as a country. So just know that I will always protect your rights, those rights that you have, whether it's religious freedom, whether it's the right and the choice to give your children quality education and to praise your God and be as religious as you want to be through those religious freedoms we all enjoy here in this country. So I do hope I am able to earn your vote, and even if I am not, I promise you, once I'm elected on November 8th, I will still represent you all.
Thank you, Darius, and wish you all the very best.
Thank you.
Susan, it's your time now.
It's my time. Well, I got to tell you that the most important things to me in my life and my family's life is faith, it's family, and it's freedom. And I think our priorities are aligned with the Indian community and mine. We have to bring more conscious attention to how important the family unit is and how important it is for us to protect our children. They're our future, and we know that. So we want to make sure that they're brought up correctly, that they understand that they're intelligent, that they have their schooling under control, and that they understand what the political world is like. I don't want to be a politician. I never have. I want to be a public servant. That's why I got into this, because of Superstorm Sandy and all the devastation, and I wanted to do something to help. And that has never changed. I focus on our children because I think about all the things that are going wrong. So let's think about this. You know, inflation is at an all-time high. People can't put gas in their cars. People can't put food on their tables. That affects our families. That affects our children. We've got fentanyl crossing the border, and it's a big danger to our children. We've got people that are stomping on our faith and not letting us express it the way we want. And we have to be able to do that in a free country. So it's really my family and those principles that are driving me to make a difference. And I'm very passionate about them. And I will be passionate about doing whatever I can to change it.
Susan, Kiley, we wish you all the very best.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Our work is to just send the message out, and the people have to decide. Yes, they say changes are inevitable, and change is the changeless law of life. And these two people sitting next to me tonight are aspiring to change their contenders who are sitting on their seats, one for more than 34 years and the other one equally for 7+ or 8+ years. Rest is up to you to decide. I have done my work. Rest 8th of November, you change their fate and your fate along with them. And not just that, the mail-in ballots are open equally. Take time. If you cannot go on 8th November, vote before, but do vote. Thank you to both of you for joining us tonight. We appreciate your time and we wish you all the very best.
Thank you.
And to our audience, I'll come back with another interesting topic. Till then, stay safe. God bless you all and God bless America. Thank you.